And sometimes, yes, you need to explain things to kids before they start exploring. And sometimes it's good for them to start exploring before you've explained it to them. This is the fertile, complex, real classroom life of teaching, where exploration and explanation are progressing hand in hand, if you like. So don't have anything to do with people who try and persuade you that you have to explain everything before kids can do any exploring. It's more complicated, it's more interesting than that. So, you know, it's our job. We are the orchestrators. We are the designers of what those environments and those activities would be that most effectively, most reliably, most purposefully help kids along the path of becoming empowered, imaginative, confident, articulate, inquisitive adults. And we need to keep referring back to that fundamental purpose. Oh, and by the way, they'll do better on the SATs or on their ATAR scores, or, you know, whatever it might be, that we don't forget that either. So it's not about what should the curriculum be. It's what activities, what subject matter, what challenges are best designed for this group to build the learning muscles that we want them to have.
And it made me think a little bit as well of conversations in the masterminds and with James Nottingham, where when we talked with him, he was talking about, I'm going to get the order of these wrong, but it was something like ready, aim, fire, or something like that. So basically, you've probably spoken with him about this, but his way of maybe introducing a concept or a way of doing things would be, I'll use an example in my grade 1 classroom at the moment. We're building websites. None of the kids had any idea where to start with a website. So we just shared the possibility of building a website, and they all had iPads and went off and explored what they could figure out. So it's like, go off and explore and experiment, and then regroup. What did you learn? What did you find out? What can you teach your friend? And actually, when we wrote in our kind of how we would learn and what we needed to learn to build a website, one of the key things the children said was we need to help and learn from each other. So that becomes your kind of success criteria. It's like, are we learning from and helping each other, and therefore coming towards this shared understanding of how to do it? So I guess that's one technique where you value the exploration first before in fact, there's no input. There's no input. It's like, because it's them, they're teaching each other. It made me think of that.
Yeah, in general, I mean, you know, it's like my favorite example of the grapple problem in the maths lesson. All other things being equal, you know, important things are learned by kids grappling with something that they can't yet do, that it's part of our expertise to select or design or suggest those grapple problems which are at the right level of difficulty, so that the kids don't know how to do it yet, but they have things they can try, you know, and learning by doing that. And also, you know, there is all this evidence, this wealth of evidence that shows that if you do have a grapple first, whether it's on your own or with other people, when the instructional bit comes, it sticks better, you understand it deeper, and you're able to transfer it better, and your ability to use that information is more flexible and more nuanced, you know. And there's lots of, I mean, there's just 2 research papers that I'm reading at the moment. One, this is about undergraduate learning. I don't know if you can read can you see the title of this paper? It's called DIY Productive Failure, Producing Performance in a Large Undergraduate Biology Course. And it's exactly that, you know, giving students a chance to do some exploration before the explanation is a powerful way of boosting results. The other paper I'm reading at the moment, which you might like to do all the stuff, is this. The title of this paper is really good. Can you read it? It's called Children persist less when adults take over. Right? We should have that tattooed on your hearts. Children persist less. In other words, doing all the explaining up front, some people will persuade you that that's more efficient, because why would we spend time letting them flounder around when we could simply tell them? It's more efficient to do it that way. It may be more efficient in terms of short-term gains in test scores, but it's not more efficient if what we're interested in is building resilience, self-reliance, and imaginativeness. Then it's not efficient at all to do it that way. It's actually dysfunctional to do it that way. If we insist on explaining everything up front first, kids get lazy. They don't explore. They just think we've explained it all. There's this great experiment where someone explained what a toy did to kids and then gave it to them to play with. And there are all kinds of other things that this toy could do rather than the thing that the teacher had explained. But if you'd explained the toy to them first, they didn't discover these other things. They just played with the toy in the way that they'd been told, right? Whereas if you want them to be more imaginative and more inquisitive and more adventurous, more exploratory, don't explain everything up front, because then they'll be much more free to find out what's going on. So there are all kinds of good reasons why we should, wherever possible, allow exploration before explanation.